I hope I see clearly. All right, my little kitties. We are doing a lesson in measurement. Miss San Juan learned everything from her grandmama, so y'all listen carefully. Y'all should do fine. First slide. A ruler has many markings for measurement. It is important to know the meaning of the different markings. Now this might be a good time that if you have a ruler at home, go ahead and grab that ruler so y'all can look at the same lines Grandma Goose is looking at. Now as you can see from this picture, let me get that big drawing marker. All right, good. As you can see from this picture, there's tons of little lines on this ruler, and the way to understand which lines mean what is what we're going to learn today. The longest line on the inch side of the ruler, because we're going to concentrate on the inch. On the inch side of the ruler, the longest line are the whole inches or the whole numbers. Now you can see that long line right here is for 1 inch. And then you got another long line right here. That's 2 inches. And so on and so on. So that longest line on that ruler is the nearest whole inch. Or you can think of it like the whole number. This is when we're going to combine fractions to looking at a ruler. Because if you guys understood the fractions lesson, then the ruler should be a little bit simple. All right. Looking closely, we see those whole inches, and that's what I just said a few seconds ago. Those long lines are the inches. Now looking closer at the smaller lines, you're going to see between each whole number, so here's 1, and then this the next whole number is 2. Now between those long lines, there's a line in the middle. And that line on that ruler is not as long as the whole numbers, but it is the longest one out of the ones between the whole numbers. So remember, it's not the longest line because those are our whole numbers, but it is the longest line in between the whole numbers from all these lines, and that is our half inch. Okay, it is the halfway point between each whole number, just like our fraction, half. So you will see that line in between each whole number. Now there's a bunch of other lines that will represent fourths, eighths, and so on, and they all got to share the ruler. So we can't just show halves and then make a whole nother ruler and just show fourths. That's just crazy. So that's why they put all the lines in one ruler, but in different lengths. So now you got to pay attention and see. You see that line, that middle line, there's no other line between the holes that are the same length. So that's telling you that's the only line between the holes, cutting the holes in half. So here we have half an inch. Only half an inch because it's between 0 and 1. That's like half 50 cents or 1/2. Now after one hole, it'll be 1 1/2. And after 2 holes, it'll be 2 1/2, and so on and so on. So we're going to be focusing today on the half inch and also the 1/4 inch, which will load right here in just 1 second. All right. Now the 1/4 inches, if you remember from the fraction lesson, are much smaller than the half. Actually, it's the cousin. It is half of a half inch. So you see the half inch is still there, and it's dividing the whole into 2 pieces in half. But the 1/4, okay, is going to cut that hole into 4 pieces. Now you're probably asking Grandma Goose, well, I only see 2 lines here. How is it cutting it into 4ths? Well, this half line is also acting as a fourth. It's acting as 2/4. So when we're looking at the holes and on the ruler, you're going to see this is 1/4. This next jump, which is usually half, is 2/4. Then that next one here, right here, this line right here, is 3/4. And if you look at that carefully, this is from 1 to 1/4 is one part. Then 1/4 to 2/4 is another part. 2/4 to 3/4 is another part. And 3/4 to the next whole number is another part. There are 4 parts. That is why this line right here, not the longest in the middle, but the next one, the 4th, that is showing us the 4ths in the ruler. Now, if a question asks you to find to the nearest half, then you would say 1.5 or 2.5. But if it's asking for the nearest fourth and that same object is here, then you're not going to answer to the half because the direction said to the nearest fourth. So you're going to say 1 2/4. 2/4 and 1/2 are equivalent. And let me write that here for y'all, sweet kids. 1/2 is equal to 2/4. All right, and if I pick a nice little yellow, maybe a little blue, you'll see this is one part. There's 1/4 up to that line. And then if I pick another color, you'll see the other. That's 2/4. Y'all see this fraction stuff and the ruler stuff so similar. Then you got another one right here. That's 3/4 because that's 3 parts of 4. Hello. And the last one, we're going to do it. There's the 4 parts. And that's how you know that that line right here, this line right here, and this line right here are the fourths in the family. And then when we get here, if we wanted to count by fourths, we can. And we learned that with fractions. If we wanted to count by fourths, the one whole would be 4/4. And we would keep going, and we keep going. So this would be 1 1/4, 1 2/4, 1 3/4, 1 4/4. But we don't want to say 1 4/4. 4/4 equal 1, so that's how we get to 2. And we keep going. But I want y'all to recognize that these lines right here are going to be a fourths. And then we can keep going. But we're going to stop here. Today, we're just going to concentrate on half and fourths. So that's what you want to go ahead and look at. All right, let's practice. So how long is this purple line? Well, first of all, we know that this line right here is the 0. And it is starting at the 0. Pay close attention because sometimes they want to trick you. And they want to move this maybe here. And now it did not start at the 0. So you need to make sure your measurements match. But for this one, it just does start at the 0. So from 0 to 1 is 1 inch. 1 to 2 is another inch. 2 to 3 is so we know this at least 3 inches long. So we're going to put 3 in here. But they want to know how the purple line is blank inches long. Well, we know it's greater than 3 inches. And it stops around right here. It goes a little over. But I can say it's right there. Actually, let me use the highlighter. Because that's looking a little ugly. That's a little ugly for Grandma Goose. Okay. All right. So we're going to put that line right there. And you can see with my highlighter, it is on the first fourth marker on the ruler. So that answer is actually 3 1/4 inches long. All right, let's go. We're doing great, guys. How long is the green line? I'm sorry, my southern accent keeps coming out, and I know y'all. So sorry about that. Write the length using the drawing tools. Well, we're going to look at this right here. And we see here it is greater than 1 inch. but it is not greater than 2 inches, so I know at least my answer 1 inch, but that's not all. So we gotta look here, and we see that it is right in the middle. So we have two options. We can answering in our halves or in our fourths. Do we want to say 1.5 inches? Or do we want to say 1 and 1? Oh, no, 1 and 1/4. That's a mess up. I messed up. Hold on. 1 and 2/4 inches. 1 and 2/4. It's up to y'all, guys. Do you want both of the same answer? We know 1/2 and 2/4 are equivalent, and we saw the green line end right there, so it's up to y'all. I'm gonna mark it right, so don't worry. You choose though. If you're gonna stick with halves, now if they ask you answer to the nearest half, then this is the answer you choose. Now if they say answer to the nearest fourth, then this one is the answer you choose. And if you put this for that and that question, you would get it wrong. So if they don't tell you, then you can choose either. All right, let's keep going. All right, now this line here, we know it starts at 0. It is greater than 2, but it has not reached 3. So we know this is at least 2 inches long. Now that halfway mark that we learned about is right here. So it's greater than half. And to actually jump into which line is this? Look at this. Which line is this? Y'all should have been practicing. This line is the next longest line after the half. So we know those are the fourths. And this is 1/4. 2/4, that's 3/4 right there. 3/4. Your answer is 2 3/4 inches long. Y'all getting what I'm saying? I hope so, because my granddaughter left some worksheets for y'all. And that's about it. Wow, that's pretty good. I like that. And this was a wacky Wednesday, but I hope to see you guys another time. Maybe I'll bake some cookies for y'all. Y'all go ahead and do that practice worksheet. There's 2 today. So don't forget to do it now. See y'all one day again. Bye.